Hello, dear friends. This article is the preamble of a conference on alchemy that I am preparing. I alternate spiritual topics with economic ones to raise the frequency of this channel. Everything starts with the economy, but in reality, everything starts with the spirit. The problem is that the spirit is invisible, but the economy is visible in the news. I have been asked to talk about the financial restart, but there is no reliable news, and today I'm going to take a break from economics. They have been telling for years that the wolf is coming tomorrow, but it is always tomorrow, not today. Opinion piece. The Art of Transmutation. It consists in transforming the self. The spirit wishes to find us. Those who seek never go astray. The heart is the home of truth. We are more sought than seekers. God plays hide and seek like a child. We receive clues from the spiritual world, from ignorance to enlightenment. The essence of the magician is transformation. How to reach the perfection of the self. Pray, read, reread, work, and you will find. Every great work begins with small works. The result is the gold of the thousandth morning. The gold of the thousandth morning. Do not let yourself be swept away by the violence of the waves. There are human beings who have reached fullness. The voice preaches in the desert of an open mind. Light is information and darkness the lack of it. Inner uncertainty is the door to wisdom. How to transmute human lead into philosophical gold. Magic will only return with the return of innocence. The power of the magician is love, not the control of people. The greatest good you can do to the world is to set yourself free. Ignorance of God is the greatest of human evils. The adventurer is always accompanied by insecurity. If you are not in love with your path, you will never be successful. Darkness will leave you when you achieve transmutation. He who wants to be seen is not visible to the eyes of the body. Wisdom is measured by the amount of doubts one has. Enlightenment is attained after many years of hard work. But there are beings who achieve a shortcut with the help of the Creator. We are living the final battle of light against darkness. Combine the powers of which is above and that which is below. The alchemists had to transmutate their soul before the metals. Separate the earth from the fire, the subtle from the gross, and you will win glory. The reality we experience is the reflection of our expectations. When the inner world is mastered, the outer world can be mastered. Fulcanelli called them unknown brothers of the mysterious city of the sun. Good will triumph when no more atrocities are committed on the planet. When the gates of perception are opened, we begin to see the invisible world. New codes have been transmitted to the cells of your being while we were sleeping. The evil of ignorance floods the whole earth and corrupts the soul imprisoned in the body. Let's start. Human beings who have achieved transmutation, transfiguration, and transcendence without losing the physical body from the evolutionary advance God of humanity this type of beings form the evolutionary advance God of humankind and constitute a community of immortals that Fulcanelli called the unknown brothers of the mysterious city of the sun. According to Deepak Chopra, there is a magician within each of us, a magician who sees and knows everything. It takes a lifetime to learn what the magician has to teach us. He who represents our inner wisdom has survived centuries, has gone through countless trials. Magic will only return with the return of innocence. The essence of the magician is transformation. If you are not in love with your path, you will never succeed. According to Mexican writer Laura Esquivel, the true alchemy is love. Through it, the fire within the heart is lit. Through it, thoughts are illuminated. Through it, those who are gone are kept alive. Those who seek never go astray because the Spirit constantly calls them gently. Those who seek receive clues from the spiritual world permanently. Ordinary people give those clues the name of coincidences. For the magician, coincidences doesn't exist. Each occurrence exists to reveal another layer of the soul. Spirit wishes to meet us. To accept its invitation, we must be unprotected but alert. In seeking, let us begin with the heart, for it is the home of truth. Definition. The term transmutation is linked to alchemy, which consists in the transformation of one chemical element into another, or of an ordinary human being into an ascended and transfigured angel. To transmute is to change or convert something into something else, while to transform is to change the form of something or someone. In the art of transmutation, the magician experiences paradox. He finds himself making an ascending descent back to the origin, not without difficulties that act as mirrors. In this way, he learns not to identify himself, to leave everything without ceasing to manage in the usual environment of what is the current reality, but not so much because he sees in it the possibility of moving onto something else, of awakening to the possession of other qualitatively superior realities, which are the anteroom of mystery, according to Federico González Frías. According to the divine poem address of Hermes Trismegistus, ignorance of God is the greatest of human evils. Do not let yourselves be swept away by the violence of the waves, but rather take advantage of the ebb, since you can disembark in the port of salvation. Cast anchor and look for a guide who will show you the way to the gates of knowledge. There, where the bright light shines, pure from all darkness, there where no one is drunk, but all are sober, raising the gaze of the heart towards the one who wants to be seen. It doesn't let itself to be understood or described, and it is not visible to the eyes of the body, but only to the intellect and the heart. Said Hermes, whither do you run, drunk as you are for having drunk to the dregs of wine and mixed with the doctrine of ignorance? Abandon drunkenness, stop. Look upward with the eyes of the heart, and if all of you are not able, let those who are able do it. For the evil of ignorance floods the whole earth and corrupts the soul prisoner of the body without allowing it to anchor in the bodies of salvation. Wisdom. Wisdom lives, and therefore it is always unpredictable as everything that is alive. Order is the other face of chaos, and chaos is the other face of order. Inner uncertainty is the door to wisdom. The adventurer will always be accompanied by insecurity. But even if he stumbles, he never falls. Wisdom is not measured by the amount of knowledge. Light is information, and therefore darkness the lack of it. But by the amount of doubt and uncertainty one is able to bear. Spiritual wisdom is an omnipresent field. Its insights are eternal and flow forever. In moments of revelation are contained centuries of knowledge. We live as waves of energy in the vast ocean of universal energy. When we let go of our ego, we have access to the totality of memory. The reality we experience is a reflection of our expectations. If we project the same images every day, our reality will be identical day after day. When the doors of perception are cleared, we begin to see the invisible world, the world of the magician. There is a wellspring of life within each of us, where we can go for cleansing and transformation. Purification consists in freeing ourselves from the toxins of life, toxic thoughts, toxic relationships. All living bodies, physical and subtle, are bundles of energy that can be directly perceived. He who knows doesn't speak. The alchemist mystic creates a force field to access realities hidden by time and space, and causes an alteration of reality that opens the door to see beyond. The one who transcends does not say it, and the one who says it is because he has not arrived. He who knows doesn't speak, and he who speaks doesn't know, as Lao Tse said. Buddhists condemn desire, but magicians never condemn desire. It was by following their desire that they became magicians. All desire is born of a previous desire. The chain of desire never ends. It is life itself. Do not consider any of your desires useless or wrong, for one day they will all be fulfilled. The mundane powers try to grab them by all means to get their secret out of them by force, but the immortals slip through their hands like sand because they have powers such as shape-shifting or teletransportation, as well as telepathy, to know each other's intention, among many other abilities. They have access to invisible dimensions and can live in semi-etheric cities like Shambhala or Agartha. We can live in mortality in the midst of mortality. Time and eternity are not opposites. Since eternity is all-encompassing, it has no opposite. For our ego, we struggle to solve problems. To our spirit, that struggle is the problem. The magician knows of this struggle between ego and spirit, but knows that both are immortal and cannot die. All aspects of the self are immortal, even the parts we judge most harshly. Beyond waking, dreaming, and dreaming, there are an infinite number of planes of consciousness. The magician exists simultaneously in all ages. People call them ascended masters, but they are only human beings who have attained wholeness. It is likely that the immortals have a secret brotherhood to protect each other, because there are very bad people. The power. Power is a double-edged sword. The power of the ego seeks to control and dominate and manipulate. The power of the magician is the power of love. The seat of power is in the inner self. The ego haunts us like a dark shadow. Its power intoxicates and creates addiction, and in the end destroys us. The eternal clash of power ends in oneness. The objective of the immortals is not to dominate anyone, but to help humankind to the extent of their possibilities, because they cannot interfere with the free will of each human being, and we already know that many times we use this freedom to make mistakes and even nonsense, especially when we do not have enough wisdom to make the right decisions. From this neutrality, they are helping us in the final battle of good against evil, called Armageddon, whose victory is written. Good will triumph when no more atrocities or injustice will be committed on this planet, and when true universal brotherhood is established. We all have a shadow self, which is part of our total reality. The shadow self is not here to hurt us, but to point out our emptiness. When we welcome the shadow, it heals. When it heals, it becomes love. When we learn to live with our opposite qualities, we will live our total selves just like the magician. The immortals. This may sound like a myth or a movie fantasy, but there are people who claim to have encountered immortals. On certain occasions, immortals have intervened to save someone's life. Sometimes they have pulled them out of the path of a swerving vehicle, saved them from a fall, from a thief's attack. The most surprising thing of all is that they came out without a scratch when it is obvious that they should have been at least a little sore. Myths and legends from all over the world are full of stories about the immortals of light and darkness. There are different types of immortals. Some of them are apparently born already immortal, while others attain this condition as alchemists when they discover the philosopher's stone and the elixir of immortality. Logically, the body that survives is not the same one we have now, but another one transformed into a body of light and possibly based on silicon instead of carbon. The magician observes with attention the comings and goings of the world, but his soul dwells in the world of light. The landscape changes, but the observer remains the same. The body is only the site to what memories call home. Magicians do not believe in death. In the light of consciousness, everything lives. There is no beginning and no end. To the magician, these are but fabrications of the mind. To be fully alive, one must be dead to the past. What is darkness? Matthew Watt talked about darkness. Dark forces are a gigantic force field of negative thought form that snakes throughout the universe in search of less evolved civilizations to envelop them in darkness. Although this vast field has the ability to manifest in any individual form it visualizes, it rarely does, because its goal is to capture an entire civilization by enveloping it in darkness. Therefore, the darkness is the offspring of the dark forces, you might say, and can be compared to a layer of clouds, which is so dense that people feel lost in the miasma. And indeed, they are lost to the extent that they are ignorant of their awareness of their beginning, of their God and Goddess, and of their inseparable connection with the supreme ruler of this universe and all other life forms here. The dark ones are the individuals of an enveloped civilization who have an inclination toward greed, cruelty, and lust for power. The low vibrations of those tendencies form cracks in the psyche, and by the universal law of attraction, the cracks allow the negative thought forms that make up the dark to enter. From then on, darkness influences and controls the thoughts, intentions, and actions of those individuals. They become puppets of the dark and carry out the dark forces' goal of enslaving that civilization through tyranny, fear, deception, corruption, and ignorance of the truths about their beginnings in the Creator, multiple lifetimes, universal laws of the reality, and other civilizations. The dark forces began to move away from your solar system after the infusion of light from distant civilizations saved the life of your home planet 70-odd years old. That force field left because light is anathema to their very existence. Just as lighting a candle in a dark room pierces the darkness, so the energy of the light of love pierces the energy of any nearby darkness. Although the dark forces left, their dense cloud of darkness remained on Earth, which the forces had tried futilely to capture once and for all. The darkness continued to exclude spiritual and conscious awareness in the collective consciousness, and through the law of attractions, Earth's residents continued to produce the negativity that nearly killed the planet. That changed when the intense beam of light began to diffuse the cloud density and gave Earth the energy she needed to break free from the depth of third density and begin her ascension journey. Only in the last few weeks, where the last faint remains of the cloud transmuted into light, and the planet triumphantly passed through the fourth density gateway. Although Earth and all of its residents are in fourth density, location-wise, the majority of the population is still within third density consciousness. New Gods. Message from Aurora Ray by Steve Biko. We have transmitted new gods to the cells of your being while you were sleeping, dear ones. We are empowered and have all the tools necessary to bring about Gaia's liberation. We have given you the means to pit your enemies with their own weapons, as you might say in your human language. Much is happening on your Earth star Gaia at this time. It is the final battle between the dark and the light. Remember that light is information, and therefore darkness is the lack of it. As you become informed, your enemy loses power. This light has altered your frequency positively. It is now up to you to maintain this frequency and become a keeper of the frequency so that others can access this vibration more easily. Many are still in disbelief, but you are seeing their wealth and their beliefs crumbling before their eyes. Share your light with them. Inform them. We are not asking you to keep kicking and screaming. Your task is to do this peacefully. Leave the information there for them to consult when you are ready to receive it, and then continue without losing your balance. You have signed up for this. You are ready for it. Now is the right time. The moment a human begins to question their reality and the motives of those who hold the reins, they begin to ascend from the 3D matrix system into 4D, the astral realm. This process is what we call awakening. This is what is happening to the people of Gaia at this time. This is the massive awakening we have announced. The 3D matrix that has kept you enslaved is crumbling and losing its very foundation of deception, lies, and control. The system is falling, and there is no turning back. You are great warriors of the light, seekers of truth, guiders and children of the sun, who will bring a new dawn. This is your time. Fear not. We are here with you. We can see our ships. You can see our ships of light in the night sky, and you can feel us in your heart. We have begun to contact you. Open your hearts to see the signs. As Gaia's liberation proceeds, we will draw closer. This is the victory flight over darkness. We love you dearly. We are your family of light. Sign it, Ambassador aurora ray of the Galactic Federation. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.